All right, let's dive in today. We're looking at something kind of different. A photo
A photo, yeah.
of a street cat
Interesting.
named Big Boy. But it's not just any cat picture. Apparently, there's some pretty serious art history going on here.
Oh, wow, okay. That's not what I was expecting.
Right. Like, who you know, a street cat could be a gateway to, like, Rembrandt and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some pretty artistic cat photos online, but Rembrandt, that's a new one.
Well, the source we're looking at makes that connection pretty explicitly.
Mm.
It talks about how the photographer was inspired by Rembrandt's use of light and shadow.
Oh, like chiaroscuro.
Exactly, chiaroscuro. It's that technique where you use strong contrasts between light and dark to create drama and depth.
Right, right. Yeah, Rembrandt was a master of that. You see it in all those, those classic portraits, like with the light hitting the subject's face and everything else sort of fading into shadow.
And that's what's going on in this Big Boy photo, too. It's not just a well-lit cat. It's like the way the light hits him, the way the shadows fall around him. It's all very intentional.
So the photographer is using chiaroscuro to kind of elevate Big Boy from just a street cat to something more, I guess, more like profound.
Exactly. It's like taking something ordinary and making it extraordinary, you know?
Like those Dutch master paintings where they took everyday scenes and, made them into art.
Yeah. And the composition of this photo plays a big role, too. Like the way Big Boy is framed in the doorway, those diagonal lines coming from the staircase, it all leads your eye right to him.
Hmm. That's interesting. So the photographer is using those compositional elements to, like, draw our attention to the subject.
Yeah, it's not just a snapshot. It's carefully constructed.
Yeah, like there's a clear sense of artistry at work here.
Definitely. And then you've got this, tough-looking street cat with this name, Big Boy, which according to the source he got because of his size and, quote, masculine attributes.
Masculine attributes. Okay.
It seems a little funny considering how he's being portrayed in this almost like classical, artistic way.
It's an interesting contrast, right? Like you have this tough street cat, but he's being presented with a certain dignity. Kind of reminds me of those like Renaissance paintings of noblemen and stuff, but with a cat.
Totally,
Uh,
totally. And there's
yeah.
something about Big Boy's pose, too, the way he's sitting there with his battle-scarred ears and the
Oh.
look in his eyes.
He's definitely seen some things.
Yeah, but he's also got this air of, I don't know, confidence, alertness.
Yeah, he's not just passively sitting there. He's like,
Yeah.
he's on guard. Like he's on the threshold of something.
Yeah, between the inside and the outside, it's like he's in this in-between space.
Symbolic almost.
And behind all of this is a photographer named, get this, RYOkEkEN.
RYOkEkEN.
Yeah, a pet photographer based in New York City, originally from Queens.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And the source says he's got, like, Colombian and Argentinian heritage.
Interesting mix.
So we've got this blend of technical skill, artistic references, and this focus on, of all things, a street cat. It's more than just a pretty picture, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. Definitely. There's a lot going on beneath the surface. It makes you think about like what we consider beautiful or important.
Yeah. And like where we find art, it can be in the most unexpected places.
Absolutely. It's making me wonder, like, what was the photographer thinking when he took this photo? Was he setting out to make, like, a Rembrandt with a cat?
Well, he did title it A Testament to Urban Dignity.
Hmm.
So it seems like he was going for something more than just a cute cat pic.
Yeah, yeah. And the analysis we're looking at, it points out all these details, like how the photographer uses light and shadow, the composition, even the colors. And it all points back to those old master paintings.
It's really making me wonder what Rembrandt himself would have thought of this Big Boy photo.
That's a good question. I mean, he might have been a little surprised to see his techniques being used on, a street cat in New Jersey.
Yeah.
But I think he would have gotten it, I think he would have appreciated the artistry and how it elevates this, like, ordinary creature to something more meaningful. I mean, that's what the Dutch masters were all about, right? Finding dignity in everyday stuff.
Yeah, like they painted those milkmaids and, the fishmongers and all that with the same kind of care and detail as they did the kings and queens.
Exact.
So maybe that's what's so interesting about this photo of Big Boy. It's like it takes something so ordinary and makes us see it in a whole new way.
Yeah, reminds us that art can be anywhere, really, and
Mhm.
that beauty isn't about the subject itself, but how it's presented, how it's, framed and lit.
We've been talking a lot about the artistic side of things, but I'm also curious about like Big Boy himself. What can we learn about his story from this picture?
Well, we know he's a stray, and the source mentioned that his name, Big Boy, comes from his size and, well, his masculine attributes.
Great.
But beyond that, I think the photo itself tells us something. Like, Those battle-scarred ears, that kind of street-hardened look in his eyes, it suggests he's had a rough life.
He's definitely seen some stuff. But at the same time, there's this sense of, I don't know, dignity about him. Like he's still got this alertness, this confidence.
Yeah, there's strength there. He's on that threshold, like we said, between the inside and the outside. And that adds this whole other layer of meaning, you know? He's caught between these worlds, but he's still here, present, in this moment, looking right at us. Makes you wonder what's going on in his head.
It's like he's a survivor, you know?
Yeah.
And that's something we can all relate to. We all face challenges, but we keep going. Maybe that's part of why this photo is so powerful.
Yeah.
It reminds us that even when things are tough, you can still find that strength, that dignity.
And it's not just about Big Boy's own story, right? It makes you think about all those other stray animals out there, all the stuff they go through just trying to survive.
Yeah, it's a glimpse into a world that most people don't really see or think about.
And it's all done in such a subtle way, you know? There's no preaching, no judgment, just this quiet observation of a cat on the street.
And yet it's so impactful.
That's art, right? Makes you think about things in new ways. Challenges your assumptions.
So next time you see a stray animal, maybe take a second to really look at them. Their story might surprise you.
Yeah, you might even be inspired to capture their beauty, just like this photographer did with Big Boy.
Great point. Makes you realize that there's beauty all around us, even in the most unexpected places. And now, on to our final thoughts. Wow, it's amazing what started with just looking at, well, a photo of a street cat.
I know, right?
We went from like Rembrandt and chiaroscuro all the way to, thinking about street life and what it means to survive.
And that's what ties it all together, right? This idea of dignity, finding it in places you wouldn't expect.
Yeah, and like whose stories get told, whose beauty gets seen.
Makes you think, doesn't it? But all the stories that are out there just waiting. Not just about cats, but people too.
Absolutely. And RYOkEkEN, this photographer, he's doing something really interesting, bringing these stories to light, literally with the lighting.
He is. He's taking something that people might just walk by and ignore, and he's showing us, the beauty, the strength that's there.
Yeah, in the middle of a city, not exactly where you'd think to find fine art.
And he's using those old techniques, those painting techniques to do it. It's like the Dutch masters, they're still relevant today.
It is kind of mind-blowing. Like art can connect us to the past, but also speak to what's going on right now. I got to say, this whole deep dive, it's really made me look at things a little differently. Like I'm going to be paying more attention to the stuff I see every day,
Me too. It reminds you that art beauty, it can be anywhere. You gotta be open to seeing it.
So to everyone listening, have you found any unexpected beauty lately? Any stories that really stuck with you?
Think about it. What surprised you, made you think differently, maybe even inspired you to do something?
We challenge you to, look a little closer at the world around you, question what you think you know, and find those moments, those glimpses of something truly special in the ordinary stuff we see all the time.
That's where the real magic is, I think.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And on that note, that wraps up our deep dive for today. Thanks for joining us.